Okay, so we've all seen the headlines, right? AI is here to change everything about writing software, spitting out perfect code in just seconds. But the real story, it's a lot messier and frankly, a little more troubled than that. So let's actually dig into this weird, evolving partnership between AI and the people who write code.
And that brings us to the big question, the one that's kind of bubbling up all over the developer community. Is AI actually making our code worse? It sounds crazy to even ask, but is this amazing new tool we've been given introducing a hidden cost we're not talking about enough?
And look, this isn't just some random chatter on a forum. This whole conversation is really kicking off because of some serious research. A new study just came out of Carnegie Mellon, and they decided to look at the actual impact of these AI coding tools in the wild. And, well, what they found is pretty darn eye-opening.
And the scale here is just wow. We're not talking about, 5 or 6 small projects. The study dug into more than 800 popular open source projects on GitHub. And they found this really clear, undeniable pattern. Right after these projects started using AI coding assistance, the overall quality of their code started to go down.
So what's the bottom line? The researchers came right out and said it. The AI-generated code was the likely culprit. It was probably responsible for a drop in both the quality and, this is the really important part, the long-term maintainability of the software. So it's like, yeah, it's easier to create the code, but it might be a whole lot harder to live with it.
And this is where it gets a little scary, because it points to this potential long-term problem called context collapse. Just think about it for a second. AI models learn from all the public code that's out there, right? So if that public code is slowly getting more complex and, well, worse, future AIs are going to be learning from a poisoned well. They could end up just amplifying all these bad habits, producing even worse code, and sending us into this nasty downward spiral.
But hold on, because the story isn't all doom and gloom about degrading code bases. Not at all. To really get the full picture, we have to look past the big data sets. Because on a much more personal, human level, AI is showing up as this powerful and kind of surprisingly intimate ally.
This quote from the software development pioneer Jim Highsmith, it perfectly captures this more optimistic way of looking at everything. It completely reframes the debate. Suddenly, it's not about us versus the machine. It's about the machine as an extension of what we can do.
And for Jim, this isn't just some abstract philosophical idea. He was diagnosed with Parkinson's about a decade ago. And today, every single day, he collaborates with 2 different AI systems. He has one that helps him with his motion through neural implants. And he has another one, which he calls Byron's digital guidance, that helps him with his thought and his writing. I mean, it's just this incredible illustration of a future built on collaboration, not replacement.
Okay, so with that in mind, let's get back down to earth for a minute. How are actual developers, day-to-day, using these tools in their work? Well, it turns out there's no single answer. Instead, we're seeing this whole spectrum of new workflows pop up.
And you've basically got 2 extremes. On one end of the spectrum, you have something people are calling vibe coding. This is where you just use AI to kind of sketch out big ideas, get a feel for something, without getting bogged down in the nitty-gritty details. And then, way over on the other end, you have meticulous pairing, where a developer is working shoulder to shoulder with an AI, guiding it to write almost all of the final production-ready code.
And that vibe coding can feel like absolute magic. But here's the reality check. There's this great story about a tech executive who just loves to vibe code all his big ideas with AI. Sounds great, right? Well, the catch is, he has a whole team of human developers whose entire job is to take his AI-generated prototypes and, make them actually work.
Now let's jump over to that other extreme. There's a developer, Nick Radcliffe, who decided to go all in on this meticulous pairing idea. He spent a solid month, a whole month, working side by side with the AI tool Claude, having it write something like 99% of the code while he supervised.
So after all that, what did he think? Well, his first reaction was not great. He said the experience was, and I quote, infuriating, unpleasant, and stressful. Sounds like a total disaster, right? A clear sign that this just isn't ready for prime time. But then, he adds this one little line that changes everything. He says, the only problem with that is that it worked. And that, right there, just perfectly captures the bizarre situation so many developers are in. The process can be an absolute pain, but you can't deny the results. It's his tool that works, even if we don't always enjoy the process. Yet. So, if one way is too loose and the other is just infuriating, is there a happy medium? Well, another developer, Brian Chambers, thinks so.
He's proposing a more structured approach he calls issue-driven development. And the absolute key to his whole idea is focus. It's all about carefully, intentionally managing the AI's context window. You start by defining a super clear, very specific task. Then you only feed the AI the exact code and info it needs for that one job. And you actively stop it from getting distracted by, as he hilariously calls them, textual squirrels. Basically, it's about learning to be a really, really good manager for your new AI assistant.
So when you pull all of this together, the big data, the personal stories, these new ways of working, a much clearer picture of our future starts to take shape. And it's really not looking like a story about us being replaced. It's looking a lot more like a partnership.
So, what are the big takeaways here? Well, for one, the AI's effectiveness is completely tied to the human workflow we build around it. And we need to remember Jim Highsmith's story. It's a powerful tool to extend our abilities, not replace them. But to make that happen, we have to be active managers. Our job is shifting, from just being a coder to being more of a strategist and a collaborator with these new tools.
And look, we got to figure this out, because there's a real urgency here, especially when you start talking about security. As this quote lays out so clearly, AI tools are already being used to find security holes. So you really have two choices. You can either wait for someone else to use AI against you, or you can use it to protect yourself first. Just ignoring this technology, that's not really an option anymore.
So ultimately, it all comes down to this. The tool is here, it's powerful, it's not going away, and it's full of contradictions. It can be a frustrating partner that secretly makes our work worse, or it can be a profound ally that extends what we're capable of. The technology itself, that's only half the equation. The real question is, for us, what kind of partner are we going to choose to be?